I was trying for a theme song.
All right, today we're going to talk about pills in reverse. Just sleep.
This week, pills in reverse.
Yeah.
That's slip. Wait, peels. That's peels. Peels, sleep. Not pills, but peels.
Peels, yeah. I'm from Texas. My accent.
Okay.
All right.
So, we've been talking about home remedies this month.
Yes, we have.
Yes, we have. We talked about pain. We talked about infections. Last week we talked about allergies.
Mm-hmm.
And this week,
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about...
What?
Sleep.
Pills.
Peels.
Peels.
Backward.
Sleep.
So, do
right.
you have sleep problems? If you do, tell us how many hours of sleep you are getting per night. Let us know. How many hours of sleep are you getting per night?
I tried to get a clean 14 hours. I feel like that's just enough.
Twice the daily recommended value.
That's right. No, I'm double dosing sleep.
So yeah, tell us how many hours of sleep are you getting per night, or you could also tell us what time of night you're waking up.
Yeah.
Are you going to sleep and then waking up? Are you sleeping in segments? What's going on with your sleep tonight, everybody?
We should have them do videos.
Send us videos.
Like sleep studies, yeah.
Do your own sleep study. We're going to make an at-home kit.
All right, so I'm Dr. Garrett, and this is Holly Hajaj.
One day.
Hajaj.
One time. I think you got my name right one time.
Hajaj.
Okay.
Yeah?
It's
God
a good
dang
try. It's going to be okay, everybody.
It's got like 3 J's in it.
It does.
It doesn't even exist in Scrabble. Your name doesn't exist in Scrabble. I'm just letting you put that out there.
Okay, I'm gonna share this around. Will you guys please share too? If you know if there's anybody in your family or your friends who are having trouble with sleep, and you have not been able to help them, and they have not been able to help themselves, please share our show, or just share our show anyway, because we would appreciate it.
So I looked up some pretty cool little stats here that I want to go over, and one of them is the most self-reported sleep-related difficulties, and it looks like a combination of 2 studies that over about 3 years. And so the number one, which is not a surprise, is concentration on things. So apparently you can't concentrate on sleep either. All right.
So the concentration on things is the problem?
Right. Right. Okay. So they're inattentive. So
not being able to concentrate.
Right, not being able to.
Or are they thinking too much about stuff?
Well, so they're brain foggy.
Okay.
Brain foggy.
Okay.
So that obviously is probably something most people are used to. And if you don't get enough sleep, then yeah, you probably shouldn't be able to think very well, because your body needs, your brain especially, needs time for REM sleep and that deep sleep where it kind of unwinds everything and rejuvenates your brain. And even like, I think it was like 3 days is all it takes of screwed up sleep to really mess everything up. But they did this study once where they were trying to figure out how long someone could go without sleeping at all for deep sleep, right? And I think it was 2 weeks with no sleep put them into psychosis. So they became psychotic.
Like a permanent psychosis, or were they able to come out of it?
That's a good question. You probably have to redo the end of the study on that one.
Darn it, I can't share this.
So that's pretty messed up. And then the second one was remembering things. So not only can they can't concentrate, but they can't remember things too. And that's one of the things that cortisol or stress hormone does for us too, where people can't remember that thing because of chronic stress. So, or not chronic stress, but chronic lack of sleep. Um, So that may be a lot of people's like forgetfulness, senility, dementia. Those kind of like senior moments that we talk about. Is it just lack of sleep? We're just not getting enough REM sleep to actually remember things and to concentrate on things. And think about that with like your teenagers, your kids, when they're up on their devices, they have media in the room, and the next thing you know, they can't do very well in school, or they're not getting up on time, they're not concentrating on things. And in American companies, there's actually a new term in HR called presenteeism, and I talk about that with my patients before, that basically most Americans are now only productive about 15 minutes out of every hour that they're at work. And so again, if you're going to work sleep deprived and you can't think and you can't remember, it's going to suck. You're not going to be a very good employee.
Is it as simple as going to bed on time?
No.
I didn't think so.
And then driving is affected, working is affected, financial affairs is affected, and then employee performance is affected. And those are the last group of the most self-reported problems with sleep deprivation. Did you get that all shared?
I believe that I did get it shared, yes.
It's all good. All right.
Yep, we're good to go.
So, if you guys have questions about sleep as we go on, please let us know. And things that have helped you. I'm always very excited, especially when it comes to sleep, to get patient feedback. And one of the biggest things, and we'll talk about this as we go, that I've ever heard anybody talk about, where patients came back and was just like boasting about it, was that yogi bedtime tea.
Yeah, that stuff's cool.
Yeah, I used to recommend like Celestial Seasonings Sleepy Time, but it has some crap in it, and it just, you got kind of like mediocre results. But patients were ecstatic when they had the bedtime tea.
Yeah. But we're not going to give away all our secrets here at the very beginning.
That's right. All the secrets come with 3 payments of $19.95.
And a money-back guarantee.
What?
So, Newman, hello, Newman. And, Newman, we do not have the same clothes on. What are you talking about? He says, well, you have the same clothes on.
Obviously, they're different clothes.
It's him.
She's wearing a red shirt. I'm wearing a blue shirt.
Newman, have you been watching all the videos? Because we were blue last week. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's right.
Dan, hi Dan. Dan's joining us. Hi Rachel.
Hey Rachel.
Who else do we have?
Dan.
I'm sure there's some other people joining us tonight.
Dan's gonna have some moonshine comments.
Dan will probably have. I would agree.
Everything goes back.
I'm sure
to
there's
moonshine.
a connection between moonshine and sleep.
But there is. If you drink enough, you go to sleep. So
we will address, Dan brought up melatonin, which we will address tonight.
That's a great question.
It is a great question. But I think Dr. G is going to talk a little bit about how sleep works.
Yeah, so probably one of the questions that people have too is kind of like, what is sleep? Why is it messed up? And sleep is based off what's called circadian rhythm. And your circadian rhythm is this 24-hour cycle where your body has what's called the reticular activating system and reticular inactivating system. And there's a part of your brain that's like in the very center back here that goes all the way through called your hypothalamus. And your hypothalamus is truly your master gland, even though we call the pituitary the master gland. The master of the master is the hypothalamus. So, if you've ever heard that, it's the master of the master.
Shameless product placement.
Ah, there you go. And then that gland, if you break that hypothalamus gland up, you have the suprachiasmatic, I'm the worst at this, suprachiasmatic, there you go, nuclei. And that nuclei connects to your optic nerve. And so your eye, even when it's asleep, knows how much light is coming in, and based on the wavelength of light, it will then stimulate the reticular activating system of your brain that says, all right, time to wake up, guys. And then people wake up.
There is so much artificial light on the globe that I'm not sure any of us are getting the sleep that we need.
Well, and so that presents a pretty big problem. What do you think the biggest hindrance of that is for millennials?
Technology.
Technology. So a lot of your phones and tablets and computers actually emit a blue light that is very similar to what your eye interprets as the morning light coming up. So from Adam and Eve to now, basically we just had light that came from the sky, and so for eons your waking and sleeping patterns were based off of those wavelengths of light interpretation by your hypothalamus. So if you stimulate that through other things like media or technology, then your brain doesn't know any difference, and then it actually makes you stay up and wakes you up. And so I've been, I know back when I used to play video games, I would be able to play just like continuous, and then I noticed if I looked away from the screen, I'd just almost like fall asleep. Like I was that far gone.
Yeah. So it's video
sorry.
games, it's keeping your phone by your bed.
Checking Facebook. Well,
checking Facebook.
Yeah. So
is it Netflix? Is it...
Never... It's not Netflix. Okay?
I think we touched a nerve.
Maybe Hulu, but not Netflix. You're just anti-Netflix.
Anything artificial. Any
Yes.
artificial light.
So that light. And even like the blue LED lights, and sometimes the greens, or yellows, and even whites that people have from like their technology in their bedroom, lights up the room when it's completely dark, and that can actually stimulate that too. Let alone like fish tanks, hall lights. Now, red light doesn't affect it at all. So if you get night lights, you want red lights.
To make your house look like a horror movie.
That's right. You can write red rum on the wall.
That would make me feel calm.
Yeah.
Right.
When you wake up and the room looks like blood, it's awesome. It's very calming. Easy to go back to sleep when everything's red.
Actually, for a while I wore a mask when I was struggling with energy.
Oh, a hockey mask or a Halloween mask?
A Jason mask.
A
sleep mask. I wore a sleep mask, and it did help. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Actually, for a while I wore a sleep mask and earplugs, which was even more amazing. I just am out of the habit.
You were a nun?
Super calming for those of us who are overstimulated.
Did you wear a nun mask?
I did not wear a nun mask.
So
light. Blue screens is an issue.
Right. So some people need like a blackout curtains, and that really helps. But making sure all the lights out of the room except for maybe a red night light, which would be pretty good. Probably keep the kids out of the room too if your room's all red glowing under the door.
Right.
So, even though there is that, the circadian rhythm can be screwed up or benefited by that external light or by external stimulus.
Yep.
And so there's things that mess up your hormones, there's things that mess up your sleep cycle, and that's one of the things that we want to touch on. So like what we call like external cues. So if your brain is kind of, say, dumb or pre-programmed, then it doesn't know the difference of these things. And so you have to then force yourself to do these things to conform with sleep patterns. And so one of them is the light, which we talked about. Another is like if you travel or time zone changes, those drastically change time because they change pattern too. So with people that travel across the country or across the world, I mean, of course that's going to mess up your circadian rhythm because it has to reset. So it takes a couple days to actually reset that pattern to make it normal. People that do shift work are just super screwed.
Yeah.
They're not gonna have a normal circadian rhythm, and it'll be messed up.
That's tough.
It is.
But what if they were able to fully sleep, though? Let's say they didn't get interruptions during the day. They were up at night, working at night, but they were shut down during the day. Could they still function fairly normally?
Well, so you'd want to get like a full spectrum light bulb, and so when you are up, that you are getting those UV rays in those wavelengths that then mimic sunlight.
Okay.
And so if the person has to say, like my niece Brandy, her husband Josh, who's super cool, he drives a truck at night to do deliveries, and so then he has to then sleep in through most of the day. So he has these blackout kind of sleep masks, but then at least he's up during the day part, but the evening part you might want to have that full spectrum light, so you're getting that, creating that normal wavelength of light for how many hours you're supposed to stay up and how many hours you're supposed to go to sleep.
Okay.
And that's why like people get seasonal affective disorder in Kansas. Is not only is Kansas super boring and your brain just wants to kill itself, but unless you like wheat fields and no mountains and no caves and no rivers and no fun. No, I'm just kidding.
That's really mean.
I came from Texas. It was worse.
I think you hurt Kansas's
I'm
feelings.
just kidding,
And
Kansas.
Wichita's
At
feelings.
least we're not Oklahoma, okay?
There's always someone worse.
That's all.
So, light travel. What about sleep hygiene, sleep routine?
Yeah, so do you have a sleep pattern?
I used to when I was working regular hours. It was always like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and then I would go to work at 7:30. I love my 8 hours. Love my 8 hours. I'm sorry to those of you who aren't getting that, but I feel the best on 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah. So, I think most of my youth, I had horrible sleep hygiene. I would just sleep like maybe 6 hours, but I would just go to sleep whenever my body finally quit. And so sometimes it'd be like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But for me, it actually worked. It was very weird. I was pretty high energy. But now I just smoke a little crack and then fall asleep in the alley.
It's always about the drugs, Dr. G. So we have some people telling us what they are sleeping. Dan says he slept 4 to 6 hours a night all his life.
Yeah, so wait, so how does that make you feel? Are you pretty good with that?
Yeah, do you feel good on 4 to 6 hours is a
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah, and a lot of people, that kind of bell curve of what's normal. Stats came out a couple years ago and said that the best amount of sleep for optimal wellness was 7 to 8 hours. More than 8 was detrimental. Less than 7 was detrimental. But again, there's people that function with a lot less sleep. And I know that if I fall asleep naturally, I wake up earlier and I actually feel fantastic, even if it's like maybe, say, 7 hours of sleep or 6.5 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had Jan was saying she brought up something new. She says she wakes up.
Don't tell me the time.
He's going to guess the time.
It's
Dr. G is going to magically guess the time that you wake up, Jan, every night.
It's 3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. It's just like...
You are correct.
Of course. So if anybody, woman, if a woman ever says that she wakes up in the middle of the night, ask her if it's 3 a.m. It's always 3 a.m. Now, 2 to 4 kind of fits in there based on when they go to sleep, but 3 a.m. is the absolute most common time that women wake up in the middle of the night.
Tiffany, where are you for this talk? Because I know you have this issue. So when you watch this video, you'll see me giving you stuff.
Yeah.
Dan's saying he feels great. He says if he
Yeah.
gets more, he feels bad.
Yeah, see, some people, if they get a little bit more, maybe you're a faster processor with like your REM sleep, but some people, especially if they take naps, there's people that take naps and they feel better. There's some people that take naps and they feel horrible. Like if I take a nap, I feel horrible the rest of the day. But other people take naps and they feel better.
I heard that if you were going to take a nap, you should only take 10 to 15 minutes. That's it.
Yeah.
And I've done that before and just kind of, boop, my eyes pop open and I just feel a little bit re-energized. But if I go longer than that, I'm really, really groggy.
And in Japan, one of the things that they do is they have these like sleep pods that you can rent like a daytime hotel. And they'll drink coffee, go to sleep in the pod, wake up, and by the time the caffeine kicks in, they're all amped up and ready to go back to work.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Isn't that weird?
That's kind of cool.
They also have a cat cafe with cats running around.
So that kind of touches on some of our variables that affect it. I was wondering if you might...
Wait. So wait, sleep...
Do you have something else?
Sleep hygiene.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things is your brain works off of predictive values. So if you have a very consistent sleep routine, then your body will actually change its hormones based on that routine. So that means people who have a very specific like before I go to bed, I drink my sleepy time tea. I brush my teeth, then I brush my hair, then I put on my pajamas, then I scream at my husband, and then I go to bed, right? So
the screaming helps. That's the best. That's the best helper for sleep.
So you have to have routine. And I noticed, like with our daughters growing up, if we stuck with that routine and then we read them a bedtime story and then they go to sleep, it always worked. If we deviated from that at all, then they were up for hours.
Yeah.
And so that predictive value that says when I start putting on my pajamas or when I start brushing on my teeth, then I know I'm going to make more melatonin because it's bedtime. The things that trip this up are deviations from that pattern. Mm-hmm. And especially people that have TVs in their bedroom, because when you go in there, your bedroom is either sex or sleep.
Or both.
Or both, depending on how long you've been married. So, with your body going in there, your brain's trying to figure out, are we watching TV? Are we going to read a book today? Are we messing with our computer? Are we going to Facebook? Or are we going to sleep? I'm not sure what we're doing. And so that creates confusion, which then severely can disrupt your circadian rhythm. And so you want to watch TV not in the bedroom. You want to read books not in the bedroom. Or, again, if you read 15 minutes and then go to sleep, as long as that's your pattern.
I was going to say, books are not emitting light. Although we have the light on for the books.
That's true. And there is that blue light feature that you can do on your phones and stuff, but
either way, though, you have to have a light on to read a book. So that could still throw you off out of your sleep habit.
You know where the best place to read books are?
Everywhere?
At night.
That's my opinion.
Motel 6, because they leave the light on for you.
What? I don't get it.
Because you can't read in the dark.
What?
Bad dad jokes.
Okay.
I got that from Dan.
We'll blame Dan. Dan, it's your fault.
So,
okay.
Prediction of sleep. And that's why, like, even the very last thing, I'm going to show Jan this, if it makes sense here. I'll circle it. It says, why do I wake up at 3 a.m.?
Why do women, in general, wake up at 3 a.m.?
Because that's when all the frustrations of dealing with your husband and how poorly you treated him, finally that guilt...
all the guilt
builds up
in the middle of the
till
night.
about 3 a.m.
Right.
And then you roll over and you apologize to him, and then you go to sleep, and everything's fine.
That makes so much...
That's what I think.
Nonsense.
Nonsense? All right. So we talked about you have a reticular activating system and you have a reticular inactivating system. So inactivating is like shutting the lights off to the nervous system so you can go to sleep and stay asleep, wake up well rested. The reticular activating system says, let's turn stuff on and wake up. So it's regulated or peaks cortisol at about 3 a.m., which is why that's when women tend to wake up. So if you go to sleep with the extra stress and then cortisol peaks at 3 a.m. and yours is too high, it actually goes from reticular inactivating system to reticular activating system. And then you wake up. So even the idea of having to go pee is one of the quintessential parts of that, because you're not even supposed to be making pee when you're asleep. You are supposed to be sleeping. And so when your body then starts to peak with that reticular activating system, your kidneys turn on, you start filtering all those toxic waste products, and then your body says, I gotta go pee, and you're already stimulated, so you wake up and then you go pee.
Wow.
So that's all the same thing. Like the peeing thing is really just the cortisol thing. It's really just the stress thing.
It's really not a normal sleep thing.
Right.
Okay.
But it's very expected because we live in the country that is the number one for anxiety, the number one for depression in the entire planet. Right?
Yeah.
I bet even if aliens came down here, they would be like, you guys are pretty stressed.
You ain't sleeping enough.
So...
I'm sure that's exactly how aliens sound. And the kind of accent that they have.
Do you know where the weight room is?
No.
So what that means is if you wake up at 3 a.m., that means you need to go to sleep with less stress, not more stress. So that's where we can do some very simple our theme is natural medicine cabinet, right? Mm-hmm. So that allows us to have a natural medicine cabinet options for this. So we could talk about, like, my favorite one is what? Do you
Your
know?
favorite option?
Yeah. Okay, the patient's favorite. The favorite option among the patients is what?
Yogi bedtime tea.
Yeah, Yogi bedtime tea. So, why does Yogi bedtime tea work so well?
Just because it does. It is amazing. Actually, it has a lot. It has a lot of adaptogens in it.
Adapt to who?
Yeah, I said adaptogens. Sometimes I know what I'm talking about too.
So what are adaptogens?
Those are herbs that help you regulate and adapt. It helps helps you adapt to your moods. To
Snap.
Snap.
That's right.
Yeah, snap.
See, she's gonna be like snap in Z formation with that. That's right. So adaptogens are awesome because you don't want to take anything that's going to suppress immune function, adrenal function. You don't want to take anything that's going to mess up hormones or neurotransmitters. You want to take something that's going to help you adapt to and overcome from that stress. And yeah, so those are awesome. You sound like you have something to say.
I want to know if everybody could chime in and tell us what they are taking or have taken for sleep issues, for sleep problems.
Yeah. So you know the best way to take sleep time tea? Take a spoon.
Stop it. That is enough. If you have not watched any of our previous shows, I apologize for that outburst.
Take a spoon.
Okay.
So
what are you guys taking before we get into a little bit more? I kind of want to know what they're taking.
Yeah. So what are you taking?
Are you taking anything over the counter? Are you taking anything herbal? Are you taking anything that works?
Are you taking anything from Colorado?
Are you heating anything up in a spoon? Because we don't advocate that.
No.
Let's look through here a little bit. Brianna says she's been taking Garden of Life Probiotic Ultimate Care for a few months. Started not sleeping as sound. Then she changed her probiotic and started to sleep. Very interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Dan, I think, said he was doing something too. Let me look through here.
That's moonshine.
Dan does moonshine. He mentioned melatonin, though, which we do need to speak to. If those of you who are taking melatonin, stay with us.
Yeah.
Because we have some good information on that.
Yeah. Don't do it.
So, do you want to speak? Do you want us to speak to the bad sleep solutions or the good sleep solutions first? Anybody? Anybody? Should we do the bad?
We should do bad. Let's be bad. Let's be bad.
Brianna said she tried ibuprofen too to help her sleep.
Yeah. So the best way to take ibuprofen is don't.
Don't.
You thought
okay.
I was going to the spoon thing.
I did.
All right.
I did. I thought you were doing the spoon.
So, so one really bad thing to do is mess up your hormones in the process of trying to fix your hormones. And that's typically what natural medicine tends to do when they do it this way. And that's take melatonin. And you never, ever, ever, ever want to take a hormone to fix a hormone problem because you will downregulate your own production of those hormones. And the solution tends to be, well, just take more of it. And then you downregulate more and just take more. Downregulate more, and then it doesn't work anymore, right? So then you're screwed and you just screwed up your melatonin. So, nobody will tell you that, but that's how physiology works in the body, the negative feedback cycle. Same thing with neurotransmitters. You never want to trick those like SSRIs or anything like that because then you downregulate your own production of those. So instead of melatonin, we want to say, how do we just make melatonin? Mm-hmm. And so melatonin starts off with amino acid called tryptophan.
Tryptophan, I bet some of you have heard that before. You can throw out what you've associated tryptophan with. Feel free to throw that out there.
What else do they associate it with?
I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe they've looked it up online before.
You know why Fan fell down the stairs?
I don't want to know.
Somebody tripped a fan.
Give me just a second. Okay.
That's a good joke.
All right, that was
Trademark. Patent pending.
Eh.
So, what?
Tryptophan.
Yeah. So tryptophan through B vitamins and magnesium converts to 5-hydrotryptophan. So you can take tryptophan as a supplement, but really you should be getting it through food. Then you make 5-hydrotryptophan or 5-HTP. So some people can take 5-HTP. If you take that, again, neither one of those are going to interfere with your hormone production.
Okay.
They're only going to be the building blocks to it.
So they won't downregulate anything.
Right.
Okay.
So those are fine and safe to try. Keep in your medicine cabinet. Then you have things like, then 5-hydrotryptophan converts to serotonin. And then serotonin's your mood, right? So through SAMe, which comes from B12, you get melatonin converting from serotonin. That's why when people are in a bad mood, you say, did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Because if you don't get enough sleep, you feel horrible. If you feel horrible, you don't get enough sleep, and it becomes a vicious cycle. But tryptophan, 5-HTP, serotonin, then melatonin. So, if you take melatonin, you downregulate it, but if you take 5-hydrotryptophan or tryptophan or SAMe or B12, then those should actually help you make more melatonin.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's one thing. If you don't think you're getting enough melatonin, then feed your body more products that make melatonin, and sometimes that'll help.
Just don't take melatonin.
Right.
Okay.
And we have a list of
So it's good,
tryptophan foods.
and it's probably tempting to take the melatonin because it works.
Right, and people are going to recommend it. You know.
But only in the short term.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So with melatonin, there's a book that I have. It's called "Eat Potatoes, Don't Take Prozac" or something like that.
Yeah.
Potatoes.
Eat potatoes, not potatoes, not Prozac.
Yeah, that's the one. And what's interesting is that's because potatoes have tryptophan in there, but almost everything does. So when we say eat fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, berries, legumes, greens, it all has tryptophan in there, right? So,
Can you name all those off? Don't say them again. Can anybody name all those off? He says it every show. He goes through it really, really fast. Just wondering how many of you it's sticking with.
Yeah.
So list those out if you can. No, don't give it to him. Oh, they can't see it. It's backward anyway. If you can list out all those foods, we'll give you a thumbs up.
Oh, which, by the way, we had a fun trip going to the grocery store with the...
yeah, last Saturday we went to Sprouts and Ty-Ben.
Yeah, so that was really fun. We got to find some really good options. I want to post those options, and Amy Simpson has created Dr. G's Neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's only for people who've done IgG foods to help find solutions and kind of have like a community about that. But other people, I think, could probably be on there.
Yeah, just look it up because we need a support group, and that was primarily what she was wanting to create for people is a support group for those people who are trying to clean up their diets and lifestyles.
Yeah. So thanks, Amy, for that. That's awesome. And but we'll post different things because we spent most of the time at Sprouts looking for shampoos, lotions, makeup.
The things you don't think about.
And there was perfume that was made only out of essential oils that you could just buy at the store, and it smelled fabulous.
But we had this dude along to tell us what chemicals you would or would not know were harmful.
Yeah, and even at the health food store, there was still a lot that was pretty bad. So
Brianna says fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, legumes. Are we missing anything?
That's pretty close.
It's close. Are we missing one thing?
Oh, so that's the first four. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. Then, someone
There's
else.
two more. There's two more we don't have.
Brianna got legumes. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can think of the other two, go for it.
Dos más.
Okay.
All right, so tryptophan-rich foods. So these are foods that are going to build your 5-HTP, serotonin, and melatonin. So these are mood and sleep foods. So you could actually eat these things for dinner, right? So there's free-range chicken, free-range turkey, wild-caught tuna, salmon, lamb, halibut, shrimp. Not shrimp. Don't eat shrimp. Cod, sardines. Ooh, sardines before bed. Oh, your wife will love you. That'll be great.
What about for, Jason says cakes and brownies?
That's exact. You should.
It helps me sleep.
Like a diabetic coma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tofu, spinach, and then all the beans. So we got meats and beans and fish. Well, fish is meat, I guess. And then we have greens and more greens and nuts and then potatoes and then flax and onions, apricots, bell peppers. Basically,
so carnivores can keep eating meat.
lots of greens.
Vegetarians and vegans.
Okay, wait. Fruit? Is there fruit on here? There's
Definitely beans and greens.
Okay, so here it is.
Okay.
If you consolidate this list to categories, it is fruit, vegetable, nut, seed, berry, legumes, and greens. Or animals that eat those.
Oh.
Yeah, see?
But the animals that eat those have the highest levels of
what?
tryptophan.
They do. So,
if you're in trouble,
yeah.
eat a turkey.
Eat a turkey. Well, see, they used to say that turkeys would make people go to sleep on Thanksgiving, but it was really because they were eating, I think it was 5,000 calories on average. And so all that food in the belly.
That's what Jason said. He said tryptophan is the stuff in turkey, although Thanksgiving naps are mostly from a carb coma.
Ah, Jason. That's right.
Thanks, Jason.
That's right. So almost all food has tryptophan in it that's healthy.
Okay.
So as long as you eat real food diet, you should be able to get those with no problem, which makes it a lot easier to sleep for melatonin.
So the other two, Brianna, were greens and berries.
And berries.
Yeah. But good fats is good too. She also suggested fats. That kind of fits in with nuts and
seeds.
Nuts and seeds.
And fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And greens.
So.
Yeah, but that's awesome. Like flax and chia especially.
Yeah.
So, what about meds that mess it up? Other than melatonin is probably one of the only supplements I know that messes it up necessarily. But meds, get this. This is an interesting list. If you take Prozac or SSRI medications, anything that messes with serotonin, guess what? Less serotonin to convert to melatonin, you have sleep problems. Antiarrhythmics, so like procainamide, people that take things for irregular heartbeats, but just like Brianna was talking about healthy oils, omega-3s, that's what runs the cardiovascular electrophysiology, whereas omega-6s interfere with that and lead to heart disease. So if people do a healthy fat diet, they'll actually should reverse that, then they don't need the medication, and then they can sleep, and everything's fine. And beta blockers, anything that ends with OLOL, which is almost like...
Atenolol.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only one I know. Lol. You know of other ones? Does anybody else take any of those?
No, so that like everybody and their mother seems to take atenolol. But yeah, any of those in OLOL, those actually mess up sleep. Now, those are sucky anyways because they basically are beta-adrenergic blockers, and so they then make people tired and fatigued, so they won't. So they may not feel like they're awake enough during the day anyways, but then they can't sleep at night, so it makes them slow down. Now, clonidine is a really interesting one. Because I actually had a patient once that was talking about her son falling asleep at school all the time. And the first thing I asked is he on clonidine? Because it's a very common one that they give to kids for like behavior stuff. Mm-hmm. So clonidine will slow them down so much, it'll just shut them down. Mm. And of course steroids, but not like Hans and Franz, but more like corticosteroids or prednisone. Those jack up blood sugar, which then jacks up cortisol because they're stress hormones, which then, of course, you can't sleep because you're jacked up.
Okay.
And diuretics, so like hydrochlorothiazide, it was probably the first drug that they give for hypertension. So then people don't sleep, and then, of course, they have blood pressure problems for that.
Okay.
Cold meds, some will make you go to sleep, and some will amp you up.
So, like, Sudafed is going to amp you up?
Yeah. Plus, you know what the best way to take Sudafed is? You get a bunch of Smurfs to buy it, and then you break it bad. So cold meds, anything with caffeine in there, of course, but that's like Excedrin. So if someone mistakenly takes Excedrin or Midol for pain, they might end up staying awake because it has like, I think, about 100 milligrams of caffeine in there, and that's enough to jack you up.
Caffeine in general. Oh, you have it on there. Okay.
And Anacin, which...
Yeah. I haven't heard Anacin in forever.
I know, this is like 1950.
Does that even still exist?
We used to make beer in our bathtub and do the Charleston and take Anacin. So, antihistamines can amp you up. So, most people think Benadryl puts them to sleep, right? So, your kids get a little sassy. You make a Benadryl cocktail. No, I'm just kidding. I did have a patient when I was doing psych rounds that did that to her kids so she could talk on the internet with boys, with guys. But she's Benadryling her kids.
Oh my gosh.
But Benadryl can actually jack people up too. It has to do with your gene that regulates for that. And so people that have a mutation in that gene will actually become more excited and attentive with that.
We had some good comments coming through. I'm sorry, I'm just laughing at them. Do we want to stop for a second and ask some questions, or do you want to finish the list?
Well, if I can finish the list, that'd be really
great.
Guys,
if you can let Dr. G finish the list, then we'll attend to your questions and comments. Thank you for commenting, by the way.
I only got 3 more.
Okay.
With 7 subsections.
Oh, no.
So, ADHD meds or ADHD
or ADD?
No, ADD's dead.
Yeah.
It's ADHD or ADID. Yeah. ADID. Inattentive or hyperactive.
Okay.
Those meds, of course, will jack you up. And then theophylline, which is called slow bid, is often used for asthma patients. Those will jack them up. And in fact, like the inhalers, those are steroids that they will jack up your sleep too. And the last one is thyroid meds, and that's because it's kind of hard for them to maybe titrate that correctly in the beginning. And so people are hyperthyroid in the beginning, and they'll end up having sleep problems, or they'll be hypothyroid and they'll mess up their sleep. So
not to veer off and spend another 20 minutes on this, but could you give us a really quick answer on, hey, if I'm taking these and I have to take these meds and I don't know whether or not I should stop taking these meds and they're jacking up my sleep, like you say, do I just do the natural protocol while taking the meds and that will help?
That's a great question.
Do we need another show for this?
So I have to be careful how I answer this. But if you're taking a med that messes up your sleep, then you probably need to take something to help regulate that sleep a little bit, or figure out what the nutrient depletion is that's leading to that. So if it's like a certain, I'm trying to think which, maybe it is beta blockers, but I think one of the nutrients that it depletes is melatonin. And so like that one, you'd probably want to take more SAMe or more methyl B12 to make more melatonin to kind of counteract the loss of melatonin.
Okay.
But some of them, a lot of these meds are going to be ones that deplete B vitamins, and that's what converts tryptophan into melatonin.
Or the timing of the meds might be important too.
That's right.
So rather than take them at night, take them in the morning.
Yeah, so if you take like the sleep meds during the morning, that might be better. No. Okay. So, I can't tell you to take meds, stop taking meds, change your prescription, all that kind of stuff. That's with your prescriber. But for anybody who's taking those meds and jacking up their sleep, that's when you come see me or someone like me that then creates it to where you don't need those meds, and then you're not sitting there with this cascade of problems that you're chronically managing with natural stuff.
Or not managing very well.
Yeah.
Right.
So, in fact, one of my friends, who, if Ron's watching, she's my best friend, not your best friend, but her mom was having sleep problems, and it turned out to be the medication that she was taking on a regular basis actually was messing up her ability to go to sleep. And so she was doing all these natural things, before she was taking all these different pills to try to figure out how to sleep, and then come to find out it was Well, yeah, you shouldn't be able to sleep. You're taking a med to screw it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we have had some commenting here, some good thoughts and concerns. Jason, thank you for joining us. He says he recently stopped smoking cigarettes. 54 days now. Rock
Woo-hoo!
on with your bad self.
That's good.
But he seems to wake up 4 to 9 times a night.
Oh.
He's never had a problem sleeping. He usually sleeps 6 to 8 hours. He says it's been awkward, just wondering. He's never taken a prescription med or over-the-counter for sleep or anything at all.
Have you considered meth as a safe alternative to cigarettes?
He always goes to illegal drugs. That's his go-to.
That's the funniest stuff. All right. So probably, your body got used to the nicotinic acid in there, and so that, of course, disturbs the sleep, but then you become normalized to that, so when you take that away, then your neurotransmitters aren't balanced back to where they should be. So you should probably go back to smoking. No, I'm just kidding. So you should try valerian root at like 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams. Start out with 1,000, then go to 2 and see if that works.
Or the Yogi bedtime tea.
No. This is a grown man.
A grown
He needs stinky
man.
valerian root.
All right. It is
No.
smelly. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Be prepared for smelly tea.
Yeah. So you can't
The
do
Yogi bedtime tea is not as smelly.
Yogi bedtime tea is kind of your entry level. It's great. It has all these adaptogens, which will then downregulate that, so you can go to sleep, stay asleep. But valerian is probably one of the most aggressive ways to do it, in a very gentle way. So if it was me in the same situation, because of how strong that nicotinic effect is, I would probably do the valerian root. And really, you could do both. You could do the tea, but if you do the tea, do it right before bed, because you have a little window before your body kind of upregulates.
Okay.
And so once you start feeling like tired and happy, go to bed.
Valerian.
The same with valerian.
Okay. Jason Fry was asking, what
I
about...
thought that was Jason Fry.
This is a different Jason. That was Jason Calhoun. This is another Jason. Jason A and Jason B. Or Jason C and Jason F. How's that?
All right.
Jason F says, what about anabolic steroids? Because I was thinking about getting crazy jacked, but I also want a good night's sleep.
Yeah, so if you take steroids, like testosterone, it downregulates your own, and your balls shrivel up, and you get man boobs.
I believe that, Jason, that was a little bit of tongue-in-cheek.
But when some dude starts making fun of your man boob sweat, you're all jacked up and just punch him.
You can take care of your own.
That's right.
Yeah.
You represent. So, what's the question? Was that all tongue-in-cheek, or was that real?
Yeah, no, I believe that was tongue-in-cheek. Jason, you can tell us if you were... Oh, he also says he likes to take his Ambien before operating heavy machinery. So...
It's definitely recommended.
Thank you for those tips, Jason.
In valerian root, when you first try it, it's better to try it on the weekend to kind of see how it does. If you take it during the day, but otherwise, if you take it at night, you should be fine.
Brianna says, what if valerian doesn't work?
Valerian always works. Always.
I would give you an
If
answer.
valerian's not working, it's all in your head and you need an antidepressant.
Why is valerian different than tryptophan, 5-HTP, SAMe?
Oh, okay. So, this is one caveat, is valerian works, valerian is an adaptogen, and it's a natural muscle relaxer, but it also works on benzodiazepine pathways like Xanax, right? Except you can't sell it for $10 a pill at a party. So, no comment?
What?
Right.
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
All right.
I
So,
missed that one.
at a Skittle party. All right. Trying to shock people into knowledge.
I was focused on our audience.
Goofing around.
I was focused on our audience, assuming that you were giving them genuine advice.
What was the question? Oh, they work on benzodiazepine pathways, so it won't be addictive like Xanax, and you can't take the two together. No, don't do that. But, no, really, what was the question?
She wanted to know what if valerian doesn't work.
Oh, that was the question?
Yeah, and then I said, how is valerian different from the things that you can take to build melatonin?
Right. So it works off a different, different metabolic process. I may have not got enough. I didn't get enough sleep last night.
Live bloopers.
I didn't get enough sleep last night.
Live bloopers here.
And so concentrating and remembering is impaired on me.
He was experimenting last night for the
I tried
talk.
to get lack of sleep by watching Shameless and not going to bed on time, so I could be a real world example for you guys. What not to do. So that's why valerian works, is because it works on several different pathways, but mainly the benzodiazepine pathway.
Yeah.
So it chills you out, so then your cortisol is low, then at 3 a.m. it doesn't peak, and then you're able to go to sleep, stay asleep, and wake up well rested.
Should you adjust the dose? Jason Fry says valerian made him groggy.
Well, that's because you're a sissy. And what you need to take is a little girly dose. You probably took the man dose.
Here we go. You've been missing out on some of these comments.
Jason doesn't know where I work, right? He's a pretty tough looking guy. All right.
Oh, man.
So, you probably took too much. That's all.
So, we talked about how to build serotonin and melatonin.
Yes.
We talked about valerian.
Yes.
We talked about meds, but I know we've got some other things you'd like to recommend.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So
for other additional sleep aids.
Well, all right. So valerian and yogi bedtime too. Those are the standards. And so, like, even if valerian doesn't work, I would add in yogi bedtime tea. If that didn't work, like if you're that stressed, then you maybe do like adrenasense, or buy like an ashwagandha or shistosandra or rhodiola, something like that. Something. All you do is go to the health food store and you say, what is the craziest name supplement you have, and that will be an adrenal adaptogen.
So we've got valerian root, we've got yogi bedtime tea, we've got SAMe, we've got adrenal adaptogens, which are some of those funky names he just now mentioned.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak to those?
Yeah, so like you can take these individuals, or these are also going to be in like the yogi bedtime tea. So ashwagandha is probably one of the most common ones, and that's used in India or Ayurvedic medicine for generations. It's also called Indian ginseng, and what's funny is when I was preparing for this, I put Indian ginseng next to it, and then I was trying to research on Google which culture uses this, and couldn't find out it was India. So that's who uses the Indian ginseng, is India. And then Native Americans, like Newman, they used Tulsi tea, and Tulsi is the American version of an adaptogen, and it's also called holy basil.
Okay.
And then rhodiola is what the Europeans tend to use, more to, like northern Europeans. They're all up there in the freezing area, so they're all stressed out, like, why don't we live in like south of France? And so they have to use rhodiola. There's licorice root, which licorice root is not like licorice candy, which is just junk, right? So we're not talking about red vine, and we're talking about the actual licorice root. So with that, you want to get DGL, and the DGL is the safe version, which most all of them come in DGL anyways. So, but what's interesting too is I read a study preparing for this that DGL licorice root was more effective than St. John's wort for depression. But of course it would be, right? Because it helps with sleep and mood.
Yeah.
And then cordyceps, which is mushrooms, and also reishi mushrooms. So, just a second. So, if you, say, add mushrooms or fungus to your food, then you're going to have a natural stress relief with that. So like we went at Thai Ben, we were looking at all the black fungus and all that. I bet you that would help. So you should make a black fungus sandwich before you go to bed.
Thai Ben's awesome, by the way.
What? Yeah.
Thai Ben.
Goji berries, which, hey, people like goji berries, right? So don't get like the juice or something like that, but real goji berries if you can. Is that what I had at Thai Ben? The goji berry? What's that little thing?
Goji berries?
Was it a goji?
No.
Okay.
Jason says he feels like he should be taking notes, but after geology and trigonometry earlier, he doesn't have the strength. So if you don't have the strength to take notes on all of these, what are your top 3?
Wait, I got 3 more to go.
Oh, okay. There's 3 more.
Astragalus, which looks like astragalus. Panax, ginseng, and American ginseng are all ones that are very, very beneficial. So,
No melatonin.
No melatonin. So your main ones, again, like the easiest solution is typically look at the hygiene of your sleep patterns. Try to go to sleep on a regular basis.
Look at your stress levels.
Look at stress. Start out with probably the most gentle would be yogi bedtime tea before bed. But you have a little window. You gotta as soon as you start feeling sleepy, you gotta go to sleep. And then valerian root is a little bit more aggressive way. But then an overall kind of approach is just like an adrenasense or taking one of those adaptogens by itself. So every country has its own adaptogens that it uses. So like in some countries, they'll make their little drinks and they'll put their little adrenal adaptogen leaves in there, and then they drink that and that lowers their stress. But Americans, we love our stress. And so we love our anxiety, but our anxiety does not love sleep.
Jason says he'll take the Murica ginseng.
Murica
ginseng,
yes.
Please.
I like that, Jason. You gotta take America. So that's Tulsi tea.
Tulsi tea.
And you can, so that's kind of
you
nice
heard
too.
it here.
Because you can buy Tulsi tea at the health food store.
Or holy basil.
No.
I thought you said that was the same thing.
It is the same thing.
Okay. So,
but
usually the tea is called Tulsi.
I've never seen holy basil tea.
But there's holy basil supplements.
That's true.
And I know this.
You're just talking smack.
There are holy basil supplements. Check it out. Go to Natural Grocers and ask them about holy basil.
Go to hollysalwaysright.com / holy basil.
I gotta get that started.
Yeah, so all those meds will mess it up, but you can maybe offset that with some of the adrenal adaptogens. But sleep hygiene is one of the most important things. And really, I think stress overall, like the biggest take home is what are we doing to lower stress so then we don't turn on our reticular activating system at 3 a.m. and waking up and peeing everywhere and stuff.
And are we listening to our bodies when they say they are sleepy?
Yes.
Yeah,
and your body will rally. And that's the funny thing is people will be like, I'm so tired, I'm just going to check Facebook. And then, boom, they broke that little window they had, and now they are jacked up for the next couple hours.
I know I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know you guys do too. Or some of you.
Yeah. No, it's very, very common. And that's what, not letting kids have their technology in their room, having a check-in area at the kitchen counter and stuff will help them go to sleep too, not having TVs in the room, computers in the room. And so there is a little app for some of you guys that do have to work late, right? And there's an app on the phone, and I think iPhone that's built in that you can now. So anybody that does this, help me. There is a feature that you can either download that takes that blue hue out, so that your phone isn't stimulating and your computer's not stimulating. But I can't remember. And then there's actually glasses that take out the blue hue, blue blocker glasses. And you'll notice people when they're talking to you in any kind of blue reflection, it'll be blue across their lens. And those actually help decrease eye fatigue too.
Yeah, Jason's saying calm screens. That's what he says. Maybe computer, or did he just mean computer screens monitors?
Is that the app?
Yeah. Jason, I think you joined us kind of in the middle. We talked a little bit about that. Yes, blue light is bad for sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So blue light's really good for staying awake, though. And what's interesting is on NPR, on one of the Science Fridays, they were talking about new research where they're taking that wavelength of light and they put it under the furniture in nursing homes, and the people woke up awesome.
Oh, that's crazy.
So people who were just kind of brain dead all the time at the nursing home suddenly were functioning at a higher level.
Wow. Because
that constant stimulation of that light is helping. And same thing when you're going for the fall, try to get that full spectrum light in your house or a light box where you work, and that way you're actually stimulating the brain to stay awake when it's awake, and when you go to sleep, you're asleep. And then you don't mess up the circadian rhythm, and then you don't have seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, for balance. Yeah. Jody's saying iPhone will be darker at night. It does it automatically. I think, too, you can just turn your screen light down as well. Not take out the blue light, but you can just reduce
I do that when I'm trying to watch.
brightness.
When I'm trying to watch movies while I drive, I like to keep it a little bit dim.
Right, when he's trying to watch movies and read and talk on the phone while you drive. Yeah. He does that all the time.
That's right.
So, okay. All right. Does anybody have any other burning questions?
Oh, IgG reactions also will cause that. Because IgE histamine releases histamines, and I think it's histamine 4 disrupts circadian rhythm.
So IgG meaning food.
Yeah, food sensitivities.
Food sensitivities.
So wheat and dairy. Wheat and dairy are two of the biggest ones, but then there could be other foods too.
Speaking of that, we were talking about doing home remedies for digestion next week, but we had not fully committed to that. If you feel like you would like a home remedies talk for digestion, please let us know.
Not knowing the definitive answer leaves my stomach unsettled.
So you just need some peppermint oil.
That's right.
Yeah, next month we're thinking about doing digestion and then maybe spending a talk just on dairy, just on wheat, just on...
Feed.
Okay.
We forgot lavender. Lavender is a great sedative for sleep. It makes beta endorphins.
Lavender.
Yeah, so you can put a little bit in your wash and make your laundry smell like lavender, your bed sheets and stuff. Or put a little lavender diffuser. Or put a little bit on your nose or feet.
Okay.
That's also a really good one. I almost forgot about that.
Good call. Lavender. All right.
Oh my gosh, that almost got away from me. Holy crap.
Okay, well, if you have any other questions, feel free to type those in, and Dr. G will address them, and he'll address some of the other things that we might not have been able to get to tonight.
Yep.
Please join us next week for digestion.
Same time?
Same time, same
station.
place.
Oh, I messed it up. Same people.
We'll get coordinated one day.
All right.
Maybe.
Do you know where the gym is?
All right.
All right. Bye, guys.